Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Eddie. This is my home in Dallas, Texas. Come on in.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Be sure to visit our website, homeworthy.com, to discover amazing furniture, art, accessories, and more, all handpicked by our editors to help transform your house into a home. All of the items are inspired by the episodes you see here on Homeworthy. Enjoy!
My name is Eddie Maestri, and I am the principal architect and creative director at Maestri Studio in Dallas, Texas. And we are here in my home in Dallas. Our house was built in 1971. It was designed by a local Dallas architect, Raymond Lambert, for Albert Steinberg, who was a builder in the Preston Hollow area where we are. It had two owners. We bought the house from the second owner who had lived here since the 70s. And when we found the house, it was amazing because it was in a much original condition. It had minor updates here and there, things like popcorn removed from ceilings, small updates in bathrooms, but we fell in love with the fact that the house was so preserved, which is really uncommon, especially in Dallas. So I live here with my family, my husband Adam, and our twin boys, Ethan and Elliot, who are 10 years old. So we are here in the home's entryway. The house itself is a new formalist style of architecture. So one of the key elements of that style is the colonnade that continues from the front porch all the way through the living room, and then again on the back of the house. We wanted to keep this space, grand. We wanted to keep it very minimal. We found these really fun, we call them the throne chairs, in Austin just one weekend we were shopping. One of the fun features are door handles. We had these doors, they are 12 feet tall. We had them custom built for the house. And we found this box of hardware under the stairs in the garage. These were actually towel bars from the 70s, and we thought they were kind of fun and kind of funky, so we wanted to incorporate them into the house, again, to keep that story going. We kept the original sconces in this space. We took them down and protected them through construction. And right over here, we have this little hand-painted piece that I actually found on Instagram from Poland. And the lamp we had found on a recent trip to London. We stayed at the Londoner Hotel and fell in love with it, and I sourced it, and here it is. So the house has this really cool sunken living room with high ceilings and a ton of light. We had to redo all the windows, so all the floor-to-ceiling windows are new. This space is really what we fell in love with when we first walked into the house. It felt like a perfect place for entertaining, which we do a lot. And when we first looked at the house, my kids thought that the wall of rock reminded them of the house from The Incredibles. This is a good example of something that I probably wouldn't pick today, but we have just grown to love it, and I think it's a really great, unique, and original feature to the house. We have a very collected feel in here. I have my great-grandmother's chairs from the early 1940s that we used by the fireplace. We designed the sofa. It is a Maestri Studio collection piece called the Verana sofa. And we use this space all the time. We will sit in here as a family and read. We will listen to the kids play music. They do their lessons in here. They'll perform for us. And our house was a COVID project, so we really wanted this room. This is what we really desperately needed in our last house, and it really works great for us. We have little things throughout that we've collected. We have some pottery that we found on different trips. And we have this, even this fun little bowl. I found these brass flowers when I was in France one day at a brocante, and they're from some crazy ornate mirror, and I thought, hey, those are perfect just to have out on a table. So my son plays piano. And kind of a funny story, when we were in the house for the very first time as a family, we were looking at this spot and we were thinking, that is a great spot for a piano. And at exactly the same time, one of the girls in the office texted me and she said, you're not gonna believe it, there's a piano for free on like Facebook yard sale. Do you want this piano? And I was like, yes, I will take it. So we have this beautiful 1920s piano that we happen to get for free. And my son Elliot plays, and my son Ethan plays violin. So they will sit here and do their practice. And of course, with COVID, we've had several home recitals on Zoom at this spot. We also have this really cool drafting table desk that I just love. It's not horribly functional, but I just thought it was such a really pretty and unique piece, especially being an architect. I use it every once in a while, but this is a studio craft desk from the 70s, and a friend of mine found it at an auction in California. So all of the floors are poured in place terrazzo. They are original to when the house was built in 1971. We did have to have them refinished and repolished. Very fortunate for us, the floors actually go under the walls. So when we did renovations, we didn't really have to patch a whole lot. Never seen that done in construction today, but that was great. And the white floors is what I really fell in love with. I had peeked in through the dining room window and I saw the terrazzo and was like, wow, this is amazing, I love it. But we did have it all refinished, and I just love how much light also it reflects bringing in, from the windows. So I wanted to warm up the space with a nice rug because, the floors being the white terrazzo can feel a little cold. And the space is very big, so I wanted something to kind of float. So we went with this organic shaped rug that has a lot of fun colors in it, some texture, has a little bit of a 70s vibe, which is great for the house, and it's perfect because we just floated this piece in the middle of the room. So this chair here, this is a reproduction Eames chair. I feel like every architect has to have one, right? This is kind of my spot. So this is where I will, sit and read, have tea, listen to the kids, play piano and just kind of hang out as a family. And again, we do entertain a ton, so we'll easily fit, 15 adults in this room, and it's perfect. So the chandelier is something that I had found on a buying trip to Los Angeles in one of the showrooms. It was a custom-made piece for a designer there. Fell in love with it, thought it was a perfect spot. We actually didn't have anything on the ceiling in this room for at least 2 years. I wanted to find the perfect piece to go here, and it's that. I love it. So when we bought the house, what we really loved about the house was that it had a sense of nostalgia, and we had recently built a ground-up house several years ago for us that was custom, and we wanted a house to feel collected and that it had evolved over time. So our approach to decorating the house was to use pieces that were a combination of things that we had purchased on vacations, heirloom pieces, just different pieces that we collected over the years. So it's very eclectic, very eclectic. A lot of pieces have meaning and stories for us. And that's exactly what we wanted. We didn't want it to feel like everything was brand new, just like the house itself. We wanted it to feel like it had a story. When I saw the house for the first time, I immediately fell in love with it. We had been looking for a new home for quite a while. Our previous house was great, but our boys were getting bigger, we needed more space. I found the house on Trulia one night, just scrolling, laying in bed, and I loved it. My husband did not. He was not a fan at all. He just saw it as a lot of work. But I came over here for the very first time by myself. I was, kind of scouting the house out, peeking in windows, walked around the property, and I just immediately saw the potential in what it could be. So for me, it was love at first sight. For him, he's come around. He does like it now. He told me, a few months ago that he actually hated the house when we first bought it, which is not what he told me, but he's come around and now he likes it as well. Let's go check out the dining room, and then on the way, I'll show you some details that we modified when we renovated the house. So when we bought the house, it was very closed off, which is very common for a 1970s home. We decided to completely open up this wall so that we could see into the kitchen. and have a really good flow to the living room for entertaining. One of the things that I loved about the house when we first saw it and still do are these original chrome and brass railings that are in the sunken living room area. And then on this wall, it's perfect for large pieces of art. These are a couple of pieces that we sourced from our gallery, Maestri Gallery. So now we are in the formal dining room. Again, the space has the white terrazzo floors. This is actually the window that I peeked into the house when I wasn't supposed to. We added the antique mirror across the whole side wall to bring in just more reflection and light and to make the space feel even bigger. We also added the paneling at the bottom, the wainscoting. This space I love because it does have that formal aesthetic, a little playful with the color. It does remind me a little bit, again, of my hometown, New Orleans, with that, formal dining. But we wanted to have a little bit of whimsy in here, and this cove that's in the ceiling was perfect for that. I wanted our guests to look up and see something unexpected. So I used the bird wallpaper from Hagen West, and we uplit it with an LED strip to kind of give it more of almost like a skylight feel, looking up at the sky. And just did a very simple, paper pendant in here. The house does have some influences that remind us a little bit of Japan, which we love, and this was a little bit of a nod to that. We have a lot of mid-century pieces throughout the house. This is a G-plan console that I love. It's one of the first pieces that we had purchased together at our previous home. And I just have little things that I've collected. There's this little, Fornacetti style box that I found, some, very old tea kettles here. And the art was commissioned by us at our previous home, actually, by a local artist who's a friend of mine. And we wanted something really, nice and sleek on the windows, which are, we love the windows in this house. So we went with a holly hunt material that's kind of a sheer with a silk tassel trim. So this is just a candelabra that, we had. We love to entertain again, so we love to have candles on. And we have this big space, so we thought this was kind of a fun way to display, a candelabra and candles for a dinner party, aside from having the whole table set up. And it has this really nice backdrop outside. It's raining here today, but this is kind of our Japanese garden on the side of the house that is an ever work in progress. And one of the fun details that I love on this house are little rooms, like we call this the dish room, that is something that we really wished we had at the last house. It's just great storage for plates and dinnerware. And we did a fun wallpaper in there by Pierre Frey. So it just has great storage. This is, what we use for entertaining, for parties. And of course, a little bit of a wine collection. Not a whole lot of wine, but we're not big wine drinkers. So in this room, our dining table, it only seats 8, but we have brought other tables in here. We hosted a dinner party in the early fall for about 15. We do most of our entertaining outside. We actually held a dinner party last night for about 15 people outside. So we do a lot of entertaining, and there's constantly people in the house. We'll mainly use this space, to set up food and have people kind of graze. These red chairs I've had in my life since I was 2 years old. These were a gift to my mother from my grandmother. So they have been with me since I was a little bitty, and I just love them. So this is our bar. This was original to the house. It did get unexpectedly partially demolished during construction when we were rewiring the house, but we did put it back together. We have a lot of my great-grandparents and grandparents' glassware and different tiki glasses that we've accumulated over the years. I went through a tiki phase. This is one in particular from the Formosa Cafe in Hollywood. And, this is great when we entertain, especially with the dining room being adjacent. We'll serve drinks. Our friends will make themselves at home here, make a drink, and come hang out. And it's been a great way, too, to display, again, different pieces that have been important to me and been in my family. We will host people as often as we can, even just, Sunday dinners with close friends. We'll have, my team. We had our company Christmas party here last year. We hosted our gym's big summer event here over the summer. So we love to entertain. We love to have people in the house to, just enjoy it with friends. So when we were renovating, there were a lot of steps to preserve the original house. When we first bought the house, I joked with my husband, I said, oh, we're just gonna do paint. And then, it's an old house, so one thing after the next started happening. We had to rewire, we had to change all the systems in the house, it had termite damage. So before long, we were going from this project that was supposed to be purely cosmetic to every room in the house had exposed walls and studs, and the guts were hanging all over the place. So it was really important for me. I wanted elements of the house to be preserved. So we took down original lighting, we protected as much of the walnut paneling as we could, the cabinetry, and I really wanted to put it back together to feel like it had always been that way. I also worked with talking a lot with the seller's daughter to get more history on the house and understand how they used the house. She was very nice to give me photographs, from the 70s. So I took a lot of that inspiration into account. So for example, in our primary bath, there was a crazy palm frond wallpaper that I saw in a photo, and I said, oh, that's great, let's reincorporate that. So for me, it was really important that the house still kind of had that story and kind of had a sense of what it always had been for other people who had lived here. My personal sense of style is that I like things that I can look at and bring back memories and have a story and have a feeling that I can associate. Some of my friends make fun of me and say that my style is kind of granny, and maybe that's possible. I mean, this is kind of a grandma house. We bought it from a 97-year-old lady, but I always felt very comfortable in those types of homes as a kid, like my grandparents' house, visiting other adults' homes, and just kind of thinking about the stories that might have happened. There was a wedding hosted here, in the 70s. They entertained the Texas governor here. But for me, I like pieces that, were in my family, pieces that have meaning. I have several pieces that were not very great, but might have been the first thing that we saved up for to purchase as a couple, and to me that has a lot of meaning. And they're just different pieces that have been with my kids, as toddlers, and now, kind of getting into that preteen phase. So I wanted the space to feel very at home for us, and really to kind of tell the story of who we are more than going for design trends. Let's go check out the kitchen, and on the way, I'll show you a peek at our powder room. So in the powder room, we wanted to keep the original cabinetry. It has the original hardware as well. And we did the paint in a fun cilantro color. And I wanted the room to really be a statement piece and something that people would talk about and think, it's really fun. So we did the fun faces wallpaper. So we are now in the kitchen, which is one of my favorite rooms in the house. We wanted it to be funky and fun and to have personality. My husband loves to cook, and it was really important for me for the kitchen to feel like it could have been original. So we did, keep all of the base cabinets, which are black walnut, and everything above we completely redid. So all of the brass cabinetry is new, and all of the walnut paneling is new as well, and we matched it to the original kitchen, which we had modified. We ended up pushing this entire wall back to create more space in this room. And, because my husband loves to cook, he wanted the Le Cornu range, which we thought was just really beautiful and had a sense of nostalgia to it. And we had a custom hood built to match the style of the range. So the wallpaper is something that I knew I wanted to use before we even had the house. I had kind of a wish list board, so to speak, that I saved for years, and I just love the wallpaper. I thought it was really fun, had a good energy, I love the colors. So when we bought the house, I knew I wanted to use yellow in the kitchen, and I thought it was just perfect. The intent in the space, it was to have pattern on pattern. It was actually very inspired by some books of mid-century kitchen design in the 60s and 70s. So I knew that I wanted to use kind of the white brick motif and to have a lot going on. So we did, the pattern floor. And then, of course, we had to add in some brass, which was key for 1970s design. All of the cabinets were new. We actually raised this entire section up. It used to have this little pass-through section here for the breakfast room. And all of the new cabinets that we had built, we matched it in black walnut. We opened up this piece, like I had mentioned before, to the living room. So it's great to have that sight line. It's actually dead center on the fireplace, which worked out great. And one of my other favorite features that we added is this entire section of windows. This was just not here. There was a little bitty window in this spot. And we loved being able to see out and see the trees. So the island is a piece that I had custom made. It's based on a console that Martin and Brockett makes in Los Angeles, and they customized this piece for me. And we had the countertop put on to feel a little bit like a surfboard shape. A lot of the design in the house is kind of a nod to Palm Springs in Southern California, so we felt that shape was perfect, not only for circulation, but just for the aesthetic of the house. And that, the marble really kind of ties in with the floor and just gives us, again, more of that pattern that we wanted and the warmth. So Adam is always trying a new recipe. We have a lot of our cookbooks up here that we store. Mentioning the dinner party we had over the summer, he had this elaborate spread. It was probably like 15 different dishes, and he likes to just try to master each one. He's great at it. My son will, pull different recipes. Lately, this is his favorite, this book, Japan cookbook, and he'll find noodles or something that he just wants to try. He's a major foodie. I have always wanted to be an architect since I can remember. I think I was probably 4 years old, and I would draw house elevations on cardboard. My dad would cut them out, and I would glue them together to make little houses. My parents built a house when I was 5, and then from that moment on, I knew that I wanted to do that forever. I went to college for architecture. I got my master's in architecture. I worked for a firm in Dallas for a few years on the commercial side, and then went out on my own. I started moonlighting, so I started working for some builders in the area. I started doing some custom homes for friends of friends, and then formally launched our studio in 2008. And from that point on, it's been, for the most part, early on was architecture only, and then now we are completely full service. We do architecture, interior design, landscape architecture, which is great because it kind of brings home the approach that I've always had, is that it's all integrated. So, I went to architecture school, but I always think of the project, from start to finish very holistically. How is it from just arriving at the property all the way through to the bedding? So that's always how I have looked at projects. And my family, has always been really into design as well. My mom, has great taste. I always, would love working with her on our house as a kid. And my dad, was always very handy. So there was a project every weekend in our household growing up. So this is our breakfast room. This is where we eat dinner every night as a family. And because the house doesn't have the open concept, it was really important for us to have a space that we could also kind of live in and chat while the kids are doing homework and Adam's cooking. So we had this sofa customized to feel like a banquette piece. And this is where we'll also just kind of hang out at the end of the day. I can use my laptop here and talk to Adam while he's cooking in the kitchen. And we have these chairs, which we've had forever. These are two of the first pieces that we bought together for our new home back then. And we also have this great Haywood Wakefield china cabinet. This was actually a gift to my grandparents for their wedding. It's part of a larger set, which has been distributed all over. So this is the piece that I have. So we have this vintage Tronchi Murano glass chandelier. This is actually a piece that we bought for our last home and took it with us. Has that 1970s vibe, which was perfect for this space. And we also just love the way that it reflects off of the lacquered ceiling. This wall was originally a grass cloth when we bought the house, and we wanted to pay homage to that. So we found this great wallpaper that has that kind of grass cloth feel, and it pulls in some of the colors that are also in the kitchen. So these wall sconces are really funky, kind of gaudy, honestly, but I love them. These are Dorothy Draper style plaster corbels that I had found. And I wanted this room to have lamps, but I didn't necessarily want an actual lamp. So we uplit these to feel like a lamp or a sconce, and just something that was a little bit more unexpected and different. The room is so indoor-outdoor, I really wanted something a little bit organic and playful, and I wanted to tie in with the white brick that is on the exterior of the house. Speaking of the outdoors, let's go check out the backyard and the terrace. So we are on the terrace. This is one of our favorite spots in the house. We just love this backyard. We have a pool and we have this great creek back here, so it's just definitely a unique feature for Dallas. Again, amazing for entertaining. It's raining, so unfortunately not a sunny day, but when it is sunny, it's beautiful. This whole space reminded us a lot of California. Another reason that we fell in love with the house. I went with a black and white tile to have very bold, very graphic, to have a little bit of that Hollywood, Beverly Hills feel. And over here we have a little bit of a raised terrace that is perfect for morning coffee, and to really make the space feel more dramatic and larger and to reflect our gas lanterns, we installed another wall of antique mirror that just makes the space feel like it keeps going. And then this is our outdoor dining. We just had a big dinner party out here last night when it wasn't raining, but we love hosting and it's just a perfect spot for a summer or a fall day. So on the porch, I wanted something to feel more sculptural and kind of fun instead of just your typical chair. So we went with these crazy spin chairs. My kids love them. They're fun and they look like a piece of art. My boys are completely night and day from each other. I have one of my boys, I think, may be interested in architecture, but at this age he's kind of wants to be a pilot, so who knows. But they both do go with me a lot to events, visiting job sites. They have to run errands with me to pick up bedding and accessories for clients, so they're used to it. I don't know, I'm not sure if it's going to take or not, but I would say between the two, Ethan seems to lean more into it than Elliot. So we are back in the breakfast room, and this staircase leads up to our family room, or what we call the TV room, where we hang out in the evening. And we wanted it, it's not a grand staircase by any means, so we wanted it to really have a statement feel. Also to have a little bit of a movie night feel. So we lit the stairs, we put brass, risers on them. And, at night, it's just a very nice, comfortable kind of feature for the house. And let's go check out the family room. So we are in the family room. This is where we will hang out, watch movies, play games. It's where my kids love to hang out. We wanted this space to feel very cozy. It has the lower ceiling for the house. Most of the house has high ceilings. This part has 8 feet. So we did all of the 8-foot ceilings in lacquer to make it feel a little bit more bright and spacious. We have this really fun rattan sectional that I'd found at an antique store. And then we have a gallery wall, and these are pieces that we have picked up over the years from travels and just different things that we love, different cities we've been to. This is a piece that I had gotten in Florence when I did my study abroad during college. And then this piece here is one that we found in Stockholm when we went in 2010. And then our favorite feature of this room is the view out to the pool and then our creek and pond. And then in this space, we also have a game table. And this has been great for family game night. This is also usually covered with Legos. This is where my kids do all of their little creative projects. This is something my son has been working on. And basically, I think his goal is to make it as long as possible. It's just this crazy string. But I kind of like it in the bowl. It's fun and colorful. So one of the projects when we renovated the house, we wanted to change all of the interior doors. They were nothing special. They were just, hollow core painted. So we found these beautiful doors by True Style. They have a little bit of a retro 70s feel to them. They also have a little bit of that nod to Asian design, which we loved and think, the house really kind of speaks to. So we changed all the doors, and we had all of the trim around the doors done in black walnut to complement the paneling in the living room as well as the kitchen. So we added this mirror to the space really just to make the space feel wider. It's a very long and skinny room, and I wanted it to have more depth. When we bought the house, the previous owner had left a couple of really cool gold mirrors that we used in the gallery wall. And we just happened to already have this large one, so it was perfect to bring the whole room together and just kind of give it that sense of design that it all kind of complements together. On the console, we just have a collection of books. Books are another thing that I love to purchase when we're traveling or visiting a new place, and it might not even relate to the place we are, but it always reminds me of where we went. And then on top, we just have a couple of things that we've found over the years. We have this little painting of, Randy's Donuts in Los Angeles. Again, we love visiting California. The bowl is something that a friend of ours brought back from Argentina as a gift. So one of the best features on this part of the house is the view of the pool and the waterway that's outside. And speaking of, the guest room, which I'll take you into next, has the absolute best view in the entire house. I love this room because it feels like you're in this tree house or, kind of a retreat looking out over the pond. This space is a little bit in transition at the moment. This was my office until about 2 weeks ago. And now it is gonna double as my guest room and office. I'm still waiting on my desk, which will go back here. But we placed the bed floating in the space so that it would have a beautiful view of the pool and also of the pond. So this is one of the rooms when I had talked with the previous owner's daughter, she mentioned that this room they referred to as the black and white room. So I thought, well, it'd be perfect to go with that theme in here. And, to not go too harsh with black and white, I found this beautiful houndstooth wallpaper that I thought was just really interesting, had a good texture to it. And I love the way the gray, brings the black and white together and also complements the brass and the wood tones. So this being a space that I also use as my office, it has a lot of my design books and things that have inspired me over the years as an architect. This model is actually our former home. This is a model that we did when we were designing that house, and I just love it. It kind of reminds me of where we were. This painting is something I found at Round Top in Texas. It don't know where it's supposed to be, but it reminds me a lot of downtown Dallas, and I just fell in love with it, and I love the architectural aspect of the painting. Has different styles of architecture that have been developed over the years. It reminds me a lot of Main Street here in Dallas. So I have a fondness for 1950s retro pop architecture, and this piece reminded me a lot of that. Just the neon. And then speaking of, I have this great painting over here that is of the Neon Museum in Las Vegas. I personally think what makes a home come alive is the people that inhabit it and make it feel lived in and make it feel theirs. I love homes that have imperfections. That's one of the reasons that I really wanted to move into something that was a renovation for me instead of a new build. Even though I love new builds, I wanted something that had some patina and had some elements that I wouldn't necessarily do if I was given the choice, that I have to kind of live with and just realize like, hey, this house has a story and a history, and I think that gives the house a soul. For me, it's just the collected feeling at home. We use every space in our house. It's very functional. It looks nice, but it's used. We live here, and I think that's really important for homes to feel like they have a purpose and to have a soul. And then now let's go across the house to the primary suite. This is our primary suite. We wanted this room to really feel like a retreat. Again, this was a COVID project, so it was really important for us to feel like the space was a getaway. We wanted it to remind us of places that we had traveled. One of the things that we loved about it was this little terrace that I had already shown you outside, which felt like a little destination and getaway. We have this great fireplace, which we had always wanted one in our bedroom. I have some photography that I had taken in Palm Springs on one of our vacations. And then this art here is a piece that we picked up on a trip to Amsterdam. And then the art over the bed, these are pieces that we found on a family trip to London. It's David Bowie and Queen Elizabeth. The four-poster bed we've had for years. We had bought it when we built our last house. It's a piece for room and board, and it's just one of those, simple architectural design beds that just really goes with the space. And then to complement the silver on the bed, we went with the mylar ceiling. And the mylar really, because there's not a whole lot of natural light in the space, we wanted it to feel like it was just a very tall space with maybe even a skylight, kind of draw your eye up. The antique steamer trunks are actually a gift from a former client when they had a big move across country. And this one I think is dated as like 1921. The house is quite large, but we really are lacking on a lot of closet space. So this is great for us to store our winter items. We went with a wide plank wood floor. This was actually a floor that we had seen in a hotel in California we had stayed at. So we knew that we wanted to use it in our space, and it warms up the room. And then on this wall in the primary bedroom, we have sketches. These are what I was mentioning earlier, different inspirations from around the world, different times, different trips. I think my favorite of these is actually this one here from Madrid. It was actually very challenging to draw because it's all mirrors and I had to draw the reflection. But I had a really fun time drawing that one, and I also had a giant gin and tonic while doing it, so might be why it's my favorite. And then through here is the primary bathroom. The setup of the space is pretty cool. It was set up as a his and hers, and it was perfect for us. We knew that we wanted to have our own spaces. It was more closed off. This was a good example of one of the rooms that had the terrazzo running under the framing. So when we pulled the walls out, it was very seamless. We didn't have to really worry about patching the floor. There used to be a door here, and the sauna, which we actually rotated over, used to close off this space, but we opened it up also into our sitting room. This wallpaper is Fernery by Martin Lawrence Bullard, and I had mentioned this earlier. This bathroom, I saw a photo of a really fun green palm frond paper that was no longer here, but it inspired me to go back with something that felt just a little bit more, organic and fun and graphic, and kind of that, I love green, so kind of having that, that green punch with the black and the brown was really important to me. So we wanted the space to feel very SoCal, but also, very masculine. So we went with, continued the black, white, and brown theme throughout. The design of the vanities was based on some original architecture drawings that we found from before this bathroom had been renovated in the 90s. It had these, flat arches. So we used that as inspiration. But again, we made everything a little taller and a little bit more on a grand scale. Also adding this huge window over the tub. That was something, that there wasn't a whole lot of glass in this room. So we added this wall-to-wall, floor-to-ceiling window here. So this door is original to the house. This is one of the pieces that has a little bit of that Asian inspiration. We really wanted to keep it, since it's original. This is into our water closet, and it has that kind of Japanese vibe. We actually stayed at an old house in Japan one time, and it had the exact door, which was pretty cool. Through here is the primary closet. This is another space that we had to reconfigure. We took some smaller closets and made it into one larger one. This lucite chandelier is another piece that came from our former home. It's vintage from the 1970s. Adam and I do share a lot of clothes. That's one of the benefits, I guess, of being a gay couple, and we can kind of swap out our clothes, so it's all mixed in. And he will very often come out wearing the same outfit as me. I've had to go back and change several times. On the very top, we have our winter section, and we can get up there using this crazy shepherd's hook to reach up and grab the hangers. Instead of doing a traditional closet island, we went with this furniture piece. It's great for storage, and it also has this built-on bench, which we can use to put on our shoes. And I had it recovered in black and white houndstooth. What I love most about our home is it has a ton of natural light. It's a floor plan that I think is a little probably dated for most people if they were going to start from scratch. But for us, it lives well. It's exactly what we needed for us. I love that it's mostly a one-story house, so it's just kind of a, you know, sprawling house with a lot of high ceilings and natural light. And I love the little imperfections everywhere. I think that, to me, that was really important. I grew up in New Orleans, and I just loved the patina and history of that city. And, you know, being in Dallas, where everything is so shiny and new, it was really important for me to have something that felt like home, and this truly does feel like home for me. As an architect, I draw inspiration from everywhere. I love to travel. I studied abroad in college, and that really was very inspiring to me. So whenever we travel, I bring a sketchbook. I will doodle. I'll draw different scenes of interiors, street life, and I do incorporate that into all of my projects. And I'm always looking at other sources for furniture and little building details, you know, that I see, you know, anywhere I go. So, for example, I was in Stockholm, and I loved the pattern on the gate to the subway system, and I used that as an inspiration for a house here in Dallas. So I really draw inspiration from everywhere, especially my travels, and of course, my hometown of New Orleans. There's always that influence in me. And then in this room, we have Adam's study, which has a huge desk. It's actually kind of messy, and these great windows. We love the high ceilings in here. And we have this great light fixture, which we had customized from Blueprint Lighting New York. And this is another piece of the house that really felt kind of Japanese to us, probably because of the big yopon tree outside. And we have some art that we had commissioned by a friend of mine who's an artist here in Dallas. This is our main hallway in the house. And of course, like a lot of the 1970s ranch style homes, you know, you have these really long halls. So we wanted to make it something special. We added the black and white paper on the ceiling, which we had custom printed. And the idea behind it was that we wanted to tie in with the black and white curtains on the front of the house, as well as the black and white awnings. A little bit of that nod to the, again, Southern California and Beverly Hills area. And we utilized this space, like most people do, for our gallery wall, you know, family photos from travels over the years. One of the things that we did during the renovation was to also raise all of the headers in this section of the house and add transom windows above the doors. This is another nod to my hometown of New Orleans, and was also another way to make the space feel a little bit more designed and architectural, and on a sunny day to bring in more light into this hallway. Another thing that we had done to open up the space was we took out this large bank of closets, and we added a niche for a console and lamps and another antique mirror wall. And it really was just to break up the long hallway feel. And we added another flat arch just to kind of tie in that detail that I mentioned earlier in the primary bathroom. So this space we love. We can sit in here, you know, enjoy the yard from indoors. It's also a really nice place to retreat for us in the house. On a nice day, if we have entertaining, we'll open up these big doors to the terrace, and it's a place to escape the heat while the kids are in the pool. We tinted the ceiling to go with what I mentioned in the hallway, you know, that kind of cabana feel, you know, the black and white stripes that you might see at the Beverly Hills Hotel in Los Angeles. We wanted this room to feel very indoor-outdoor and to have really kind of a design statement. So the console piece is vintage. It's a piece that we've had for years and we wanted to use again in our new house. And we have our art glass collection on top, and then a couple of pieces that we had found on a trip to Amsterdam. The glass collection is just something that I've collected over the years. You know, I love mid-century design and I love Palm Springs, and these are just pieces that I've found, you know, and just collected over the years and thought it'd be a great place to display them with the natural light coming through. My favorite's this tall yellow one here. And the chairs are swivel chairs that we designed. And to bring that indoor-outdoor feel and to, you know, give us a sense of, you know, not being in Dallas and kind of an escape, we went with this large-scale palm wallpaper that we did in picture framing molding. And then, of course, we have our obligatory Peloton in the corner. And then this chandelier is a piece that I had made. It's a custom Sputnik. This was another piece that we brought from our last home. For me, home means a place for my family to just be ourselves, to feel inspired, to feel safe, and really creative. You know, I always walk around the house and something will inspire me in a project for someone else. You know, this room in particular, you know, we'll sit around, I'll sketch, my kids will read. So for me, I would say home is just a place to be yourself and to feel the most comfortable.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.